You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
Hi, my name is Stephen Long, and I host a show here on Rock Candy called Sacred Tension. It's about the spiritual discipline of asking questions. If you find yourself uncomfortable in your faith, or if you find yourself caught between modern science and ancient religion, or if you're curious about the journeys of others who are sorting out faith and doubt, Sacred Tension is a place where nothing is off limits. You will find conversations with pastors, cult experts, spiritual leaders, and skeptics, all discussing the ways we navigate the faiths we were given. Find Sacred Tension right here on Rock Candy and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey everybody, it's the other guy from the Pickle and Boot Shop. Not the world famous Reese Reginald Roper, the other guy. My name doesn't matter, because I don't matter. But it's Thanksgiving week, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy your week with Thanksgiving in mind and give thanks for the Pickle and Boot Shop. This week, on this week's episode 28, we talked to Nate Sjogren. I talked to Nate Sjogren, the drummer from The Insiders, my co-founder. We've been friends since sophomore year in high school. And he joins me to talk about some things, to maybe clean up some stories, give a second opinion, give his view on how things happened. We talk about all sorts of things. He gets very therapeutic on this. I was not expecting it. I thought we were going to be talking just funny stories and laughing our heads off as we normally do when we get together. And Nate got on the show and did what me and Reese do. We did a big therapy session and started crying. Nate does cry at one point. I also want to make sure that people know we don't talk about rodent extermination on this show. Not doing it. Not today. We also don't talk about Kevin Max. Actually, we do talk about Kevin Max. We do. And we talk about poop as we normally do. So we don't talk about rodent extermination. We do talk about Kevin Max. We cry. Nate cries. We talk about poop, and I think that's about it. So, episode 28 of the Pickle and Boot Shop. I hope you hate it.
Joey Reese, Pickle and Boot Shop. Get yourself a pickle. Get yourself a boot. Joey Reese, Pickle and Boot Shop. Pickle time is happening. Pickle time. I go down to get some pickles. With your grandma and your kids. I go downtown. With your grandma and your kids. Boot time. Pickle and boot time. Don't be fickle, get your pickle cider, pop a nickel in your boots. Not a place of ill repute. Bring your grandma and your kids. Come for the pickles, stay for the squids. Stay for the squids. Boots. Put that pickle in your pants. Get some booze inside your hands. Put that pickle in your pants. Get some booze inside your hands. 1996, we start this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 28 of the Pickle and Boot Shop. Reese is gone on a family emergency. You guys just, I don't know how much I can give away. It's not my story to tell, but just be praying for Reese, be praying for his family, and he's gone. So I am taking up the reins, and today I have with me, I was going to say in-house, but I'm actually in your house. We're actually in the Lord's house.
We are in the Lord's house.
We're in the Lord's house. The drummer from the Insiders, my co-founder. We started the Insiders here after
Co-conspirator.
Yeah, Nate Sjogren. So Nate Sjogren is on the show today. So you guys, we're going to do a good 2 hours of freebie and paid portion, and just while I was setting up the equipment, Nate's already like, do you remember this? I'm like, no. Do you remember that? No. So hopefully Nate's going to have some good stuff that he can refresh my memory.
It's actually my favorite part as a listener.
Okay.
So I'm here as part of the story, but I'm also here as an avid listener.
Okay, good.
And so usually when I'm driving, doing like real estate showings, because that's my side hustle.
Yeah.
Anyone that works for a nonprofit has to have a side hustle.
You gotta. Mine was washing windows.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I will put on Pickle and Boot Shop, and it's like my favorite when I'm driving. Because,
good.
And everyone's got to think that I'm crazy because I am like dying, trying to keep the car on
Now,
the road.
I got to ask you something honestly, though. When you listen, because I know our memories, I know a lot of these are fish stories.
Oh, totally.
So do you find when you're listening, you're like, that's not how I remember it happening?
Right, but that's the best part. No, I mean,
Like my point of view?
Yeah.
Where you're like, this guy's messed up. It didn't happen that way.
No, I love it because it's like I only have my version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not the right version. It's my version.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
from inception of the band to man, when you were talking about like Tim Tabor and Steve Taylor, like there was so much richness in that like because I did some of the business stuff.
Yeah, which I know nothing about.
I think I had different opinions about some people.
Yeah.
Certainly at certain times I had different opinions. And then how that would color my experience, I think sometimes it actually pulled me out of some of the maybe fun.
Okay.
Or even maybe like some of the carefreeness that might have been there. But then to hear it back, like to hear you tell the Rodman story, you've got like particular details that I don't have.
Okay.
But I have some that you don't have.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, totally. Like, and then hearing Reese's take on some stuff is also like, I mean, I almost like went off the road 2 weeks ago. I'm being serious because it was the episode recounting what I would like to call the full immersion therapy for Lou.
Oh, yeah. From Dear F. Sis Lou.
Well, maybe full immersion or full exposure therapy.
Yeah, both.
I have not thought about that since then.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like, just I moved on.
Yeah.
In life.
Yeah.
And when that story came up, I lost it. And it was one of those things that it was like, I don't know. I think sometimes, maybe it's just because we're getting older. I mean, I'm 44.
Yeah, we are.
44. I think that.
You just turned 44.
Yeah, I did in September.
September 25th, baby. Yep. You and Mia share a
That's
birthday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that there's perspective that comes with that, where you start to realize, oh, I do only have my versions of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like there are guys that are that were in the Insiders that I don't have relationships with. Anymore, and I recognize even in that it was my version of the relationship. Like I thought it was something, but then it turned out later in life to not be. Do you know what I'm saying? And like,
yeah.
And I understand like that idea of like friends. For some friends are friends for a season. Some friends are friends for life.
Correct.
But the beginning of the Inside, like we're on North Center right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
So anyone that has like the Teamster shirts, and it says
Local 501.
Local 501.
Yeah.
So like when I go to work, I'm on North Center. I'm a block away
from our old band house,
where we lived and where we wrote multiple albums, and Steve Taylor sat in that living room.
Ooh, sorry, Steve.
And then took us to Mongolian.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Again, sorry, Steve.
And Johnny Hale ate like probably 6 bowls.
Yeah. And then filled 6 bowls.
Yes. And so like there's a part of it for me, like it's like I live the extension of that like every day in a certain way where and I work with Bo.
Yeah.
And so like I have a relationship with Bo that looks nothing like what it was in the Insiders.
Sure.
And so like I guess that's kind of what like as I reflect, there are some relationship that just kind of ended.
Yeah.
And then there's some where it's gone through conflict. And then there's some where it's like the whole relationship has just had to evolve into something different.
No, do you? Because I'm gonna go with this. Like, we always have show notes that it's like, hey, this is what we want to talk about. I sent you some of those earlier, but that's like if we find ourselves at a place where we're like, what do we talk about?
Yeah.
But if what you're bringing up is stuff that I'd like to dig into, double click on, if you will. So I think of. You had brought up, like, you knew the business side, so you kind of saw the sausage being made. I didn't. I tried to stay as clear away from that as I did from driving. Like, I'm the only guy in the band that can say I never drove.
Did Sang drive?
Sang drove.
Did he?
And I remember sitting in there.
Did he have a U.S. license when he drove?
No. I remember.
You were ranked below
An undocumented
undocumented
alien. Yeah, horn player. And I just remember sitting there thinking, are you kidding me? Like, I'm a good driver, and I'd be like, hey, you guys need me to drive? And it was like, good one. You just sit down, son. I was always like, what did I do where what did I ever show the band where I couldn't drive? But that's neither here nor there. So there's there's things that went on behind the scenes that you were involved in, like the business end of it. I wanted nothing to do with that because I saw really, really quick. I'm a guy who I'm fiercely loyal until like that loyalty gets like boned, and then I'm just like done. Like, I shut down until it's kind of earned again, and then if it's earned. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Pit bulls they have a bad name because they're fiercely loyal. So if you train them to be killers, they will.
Yeah,
if they
for
think
sure.
That's what they're doing to please you.
If you give them gunpowder, if you feed them gunpowder, as the urban legend says. But it's weird that a collie, you could give a collie gunpowder and he's never going to fight anybody. But anyway.
Who's to say?
Right, really. Because who buys collies? And if you buy a collie out there, post on the diabolical discussion why you do. But anyway, so you saw like that business. I didn't. So all I saw was the person who was presented in front of me, those friendships. Now, just like you said, how there's seasons, there's friends for seasons. I look at the insiders as, yes, on the daily. Like, I haven't talked to Bram. Bram and I were connected at the hip for the entire time he was in the band. We were roommates. If he went somewhere, I went somewhere. If I went somewhere, he went somewhere. We were always with each other, the closest of friends. The insiders ends. We don't talk to each other, but maybe once every 3 years. And that's like, we happen to see each other somewhere. It's not like, hey, are you going to be at your brother's Christmas party? It's just
pop by.
Yeah, he might be somewhere, and I happen to be there. My daughter's friends with his daughter, and so there's like kind of like that connection. But I always think of it like, I don't look at it as. I guess I've never looked at it like that. I've always looked at it as life happens. But if I ever get back with you guys, like with us today, like, you just pick up where you left off.
I think yes, when there's not conflict.
Okay.
And so
I'm unaware of the conflict. The only conflict that I have with anybody that it's been made known on the show is Kyle. Like, me and Kyle did not like each other.
We were all very immature at that point, relationally. I would say our EQs were very low. I would say that we weren't aware of all that Kyle brought when he joined the band. Yeah. And so I think that there was actually like the way that his brain process was different. Yeah. And some would say maybe like on a different level. And so I think that we weren't aware of that, and I don't think we knew what to do with that. Like, I've actually been super mournful in years, as I learned about whatever else people have gotten into or whatever, about that relationship. Because you've referenced how I was very much like in that leadership role in the band. Sure. I didn't understand Kyle, and the more work that I've done, are you familiar with Enneagram? No. So, just... You knew asking that question what my answer was going to be. Hey. You could have just said, I know you don't know Enneagram, but... So the Enneagram, I'm not going to go into it. The more that I've learned about myself, the more I realize I never took time to understand Kyle. And I actually didn't have even a framework for it.
Yeah.
And he must have hated being in the Insiders. Like, I don't know that he would ever say that, but as I recall the experience, like, it must have been very difficult for him. Not because we were bad and not because he was bad, but because we were on very different levels, you know? Like,
he was a bit older than us.
Yeah.
So, like, me and you were always, like, the youngest guys. And so, you know, and he was older, like 3 or 4 years older.
And had lived on his own.
And
reminded us about that.
all the time.
Yes.
And he skateboarded a lot.
Yes.
No, we're getting down that road of making fun. But no, like I can understand from like his point of view where he plays guitar and he kind of does what he did. And if he came back to the bus or he came back to the hotel, there was no one who wanted to hang out with him.
Right.
So for that, I could see.
Or like didn't have the shared hobby.
Yeah.
Until Dave Taylor was our driver.
Yeah.
And then those two.
Yeah. And then Dave was kind of, I don't want to say forced in that role, but he did.
No, he stepped up. Though.
He did take that role. But so I've looked
but there
at
also
it.
wasn't a lot of background. Like, dude, do you remember?
Yeah.
We had like bookings.
Yeah.
And
so Caleb was gone.
I mean,
and we had like 4 days.
Caleb was in high school.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Yeah. And now Caleb is the most successful out of all of us.
Still writing great music.
Yeah. And so.
Like, that was a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
So, like, we were like calling people. I remember being on the phone with people like.
And Johnny Respect. Johnny Respect, prior to being Johnny Respect, was a band called Cloudbreak.
Yes.
And so Cloudbreak was essentially Johnny Respect with Kyle.
Yeah.
And then Kyle, they were like, hey, we got Kyle. Maybe he'd be good in your band. And we were like, well, why are you giving us your guitar player? And they were like, no, he's in here. Just take him. Have him practice.
See, that's how you remember it.
Yeah. That is how I remember it. And then Kyle showed up. He like practiced, and we were like, okay, like this guy's like. I remember thinking like, all right, this guy's all right.
And he was in the
like,
face to face.
Yeah,
that was the commonality. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I've gone back to listen to that album.
Yeah.
Big Choice. Like, I've recently gone back and listened. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is still like phenomenal. I still play drums influenced by that album. Like, which is just kind of funny. Like, I think recently I've just been listening to a lot of the stuff in that era, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I pretty much ripped this person off. Like, you could go through our albums and be like, oh, there's the drum part from Jimmy Eat World Stairs or whatever it is.
Yeah. But didn't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, that is what you do.
And it is homage.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, but, you know.
I think every song I ever wrote in my head, I was thinking like, what would Less Than Jake do?
Sure.
You know? And then the songs that me and you like wrote, like we have a handful of songs, maybe a song or two on every album where you would come in and you would do like the background vocals. You knew exactly what I was going for. You knew and you were just like, I was Chris, you were Roger, kind of singing, and you knew it. I knew if I left while you did backgrounds and I came back in, it would sound like the way you knew what I wanted to hear. So that was kind of that. But back to Kyle, I do think if I put myself in his shoes, it would have to be hard for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, however many years that we did that, where you don't have anybody. Yeah. Like, even if you do have people, the road sucks. Like being in the Iron Lung sucks.
It's stressful.
You know, not being able to come and go when you want and all those things, and you're just with these people all the time.
I do remember he did pick up golfing though.
He did pick up golfing.
2 tours.
But again though, his personality was, he's yelling at everybody. He's yelling at the bus driver to get to where he needed to be because he had a 6 o'clock tea time. And it's like we'd be pulling into a city at 5:50 and dropping him off at a golf course, or the runner who signed up to be the runner, who's like, oh yeah, around 4 PM I might have to drive these guys to Arby's. This kid has no clue that he's got to get up prior to going to high school
to go to the country club,
to pick up Kyle from the hotel and take him to a country club, and then skip 4th hour because he's got to pick him up and bring him back. And then Kyle was like, can I get an advance on my paycheck, this week? Because he just spent $180 playing some famous golf course. And it's like, what are you doing?
But he was living it. I think about when we were in New Orleans, and a group of us were like, we're going to Emerald's.
Yeah.
Me, Sang, Bram, Bo, and Johnny, I believe.
I was there.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
So we go to Emerald's, which, I mean, think about that. Us walking in there, they must have been like, what is going on here?
And they were.
And so we all sit down and we ordered.
Let's rewind this. So
see, you've got a piece I don't remember.
We had gotten in from the airport, and I was like, I want to eat at Emerald's. Who's in? You guys all said, so I called ahead. I said, can you seat us? They were like, yep. I said, what's the dress code? They said no tank tops, no flip-flops.
Okay.
Awesome. So we showed up. When we walked in, we had that typical like what is portrayed in movies of like a snooty guy. We walk in and the guy looks us up and down, and we're like, hey, like we have reservations for whatever, 8. And he goes, not dressed like that. And I was like, I called here earlier. We're a band from out of town. We know that this is like the hottest place to eat right now. At that time, Emerald was like all over the Food Network.
He was huge.
He like made the Food Network at that time. And the guy went and got his manager, and then the manager came down, and like that snooty guy left, and the manager came down, and he was like, you guys are fine. Enjoy the food. And then sat us down.
See, I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
What I remember is this.
Yeah.
That Bram was on Atkins.
Yep.
And that Bram ordered a meal and was like, oh, well, could I not have the noodles and can I not have the blah, 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 blah? And the guy just stared at him. And he said, the chef will make it the way that the chef makes it. Which I was like, oh, like, okay. And then I remember this.
Oh, I hope you tell this. I hope it's what I remember.
That it was basically Bram with Diet Coke. Yeah. Being like, just keep them coming.
Yeah.
Just keep them coming.
Thought at Emerald's it was free refills.
And then when we got our bill, that Bram's bill was like $60 or something. Because he had like 8 Diet Cokes because he was on Atkins.
Yeah, and they were like $4 a piece.
Oh, that moment there, that's like quintessential.
Yeah.
But then later that night, we played with Skeletons.
Yeah, and
that packed club in New Orleans. It was one
absolutely
of my favorite shows.
The Howling Diablo, the Howling Wolf, something like that.
Yeah.
And do you remember it being packed? I don't remember it being packed.
I remember it being packed, and I don't know if you remember this, but you know how Five Iron has that tune about backlit bouncing to the beat, and it's about like playing and having like a spiritual experience. Remember, and they're like,
I don't listen to that crap. I don't listen to that band.
That show I remember we did our worship set, which we hadn't been necessarily doing on that tour.
Okay.
And I remember a couple of the dudes from Skeletons, Jason in particular, their drummer.
Yeah.
And some of them being around when we went in and we did like, Awesome God and a couple other things, because there was the promoters had actually that brought that tour knowing us, not knowing Skeletons.
Right.
So it was a club and it was a venue, like it was an actual venue.
Yeah.
But the promoters knew who we were.
Yeah,
and
I do remember that.
They wanted us to do more than what we were usually doing on the sets on that tour. And I remember that being like this shift, because I don't know if you remember, but we were doing like a pregame Bible study.
Yeah.
On that tour.
Yeah, I remember.
And then all of a sudden, after that show, some of the Jeffries guys started showing up, and a couple of Skeletons
Sonny
guys.
and Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something happened during that show spiritually, where there was like something, the spirit started moving in a different way. Maybe they saw us in a different way. Maybe there was some vulnerability. Like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But I remember that show being like, oh, now this tour has shifted.
Okay.
And it felt differently.
Okay.
Because
what I remember is we were playing and Jeffries started, I think they were kicking off the show or whatever. I remember the club being completely empty and there was a $5 cover charge. And guys were coming in just to drink at the bar, which was their normal watering hole. And they were livid that they had to pay to get in. Now, that's how I remember,
New Orleans?
The New Orleans show.
I'm remembering that. Maybe I'm remembering the city wrong.
I remember Austin.
Maybe that's what it was.
Where we played in Austin, where that dude came and made that Jamaican chicken and everyone was doing blow up in the upstairs. everyone was just doing rails. And we were downstairs, where is everybody? And then all of a sudden, the door at the top of the steps opened and just a cloud of dust came out of it, and everyone came down with much more energy than when they went up there. And then that dude had made he was straight from Jamaica, knew the Skeletones, had made, and I remember that place was packed.
Maybe that's the show I'm thinking of.
Because the Howling Diablo one, I remember us just all going, well, this is a practice that we get. We don't get to practice on tour.
See, this is why it's important.
Yeah,
because if we were going to go back and write it down, I'd be like, dude, killer show. Half the crowd got saved.
Yeah, that was Austin.
And then you're like, well, I mean, there were only 2 people there.
I believe that was Austin. I also remember the funny thing is the guys in the other bands, when they came out on tour, they knew what shows were booked by Christian promoters and then which shows weren't. And they respected that. And I always thought it was funny that we would play the Christian booked shows and it would just go off like a normal show. And then we would play the secular promoter, the Skeletones promoters. And then the lead singer of the Skeletones, Jonah, would have his dong out. He'd be doing backflips naked and all this stuff. And we were like, whoa. Yeah.
Guess we know who booked this show.
Yeah, and our crowd, the Christian kids that were oh, let's go see the Insiders. Right. Suddenly they just get a Raid can just swung in front of their face.
So that was a full immersion exposure tour as well.
Yeah,
for our fans.
Yeah, and I'll never forget the drummer that you were talking about, Jason from the Skeletones. We always had. I was telling Reese about this. We always had on whatever tour we went on, somebody from another band would always ride on our bus. And so Jason was that. And I remember one time he's in the bus and he was like, stop. And we're like, oh my gosh, he's got to take a dump. Right. So pull over the side of the road. He's stop, stop the truck. He gets out and just books it out into this field. And we're in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest or the Rockies, somewhere. It was somewhere, the deserty, high prairie. Stop. And he books it. He books it out into it. And we're like, okay, this guy's going to take a dump. And he starts ripping out all these plants. And then gets back, and we were like, what did you do? And he's like, skunk weed. He's like, you can smoke this. He's like, it's cheap weed. And we were like, oh my gosh. And I remember sitting in there thinking we're going to get caught. We're going to get arrested.
We're all going to jail.
Yeah, we're all going to jail because we're riding in this truck that got stopped all the time. We had the Johnny Sacco sticker on the back that looked like a hazardous material. So every now and then we pass some way station where some cop with binoculars would see it. I think we were skipping out.
How long did you know that? How long have you known that?
What?
That the Johnny Sacco sticker was a hazardous waste sticker.
Because were you not in the band when we got pulled over then?
No, I never would have put that together.
Twice. So the Johnny Sacco had a band sticker that was.
I totally remember it.
Yeah, the hazardous materials, and it was on the back of our truck, and we were driving through North Dakota.
Must have been the Holy Roller Tour because I wasn't on that one.
It could have been. It very well could have been. We were driving through North Dakota or South Dakota or Iowa, and we got stopped and we were sleeping. Well, it happened twice. So the first time we passed in the daylight and somebody saw the sticker going past the weigh station. All of a sudden, all these cop cars are behind us.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, pull us over. And they're like, what? And they're like, what the heck is this? They're like, what are you hauling?
Yeah.
And like whoever was our driver at the time was like, we're a Christian band. And they're like, what do you, they made us take the sticker off.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were like, well, you got this hazardous. We're like, no, that's a band. And they're like, no, it looks like a hazardous. So they made us take it off and then they let us go. Then we got stopped another time, like a few days later, we get stopped in like South Dakota, Idaho, something like that, Wyoming, somewhere in that area. And they stopped us because they thought we were hauling Mexicans.
Oh, I was there for that one.
So you were there for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is two different times then.
Trini was driving.
Yeah, our Mexican driver was driving.
I mean,
okay, so that wasn't the same. It wasn't the same.
Talk about not being involved in the business.
No, no.
That was a crazy fiasco. So we bought a truck.
Yeah.
And we paid a fair amount of money for it.
Yeah, from the super
And I'm saying fair, meaning like it was a good deal. But none of us could drive it.
Yeah.
And we spent...
Neither could Trini.
We spent 3 times as much hiring a driver for one tour that we got from a want ad that we placed in L.A.
Yeah.
And Trini came over... across the border to take that job.
He was like, what are we doing? He couldn't even speak English.
He did not speak English.
Like, remember?
A very kind man with a kind heart. But he was sending that money back home. Like, if you think about we've learned a lot in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
or
a little
whatever
bit.
It's been. Like, they saw a Mexican driving a semi that had basically air holes.
Yeah, like little windows.
And they're like, oh, we got them. We got them.
We got all of them.
Like in Iowa, think about it. Why?
Yeah. We got
all the farms.
All of them.
Like, it makes sense in Iowa that they would be like, we got a whole
Trini was a coyote.
Oh my god.
And we were just
poor guy. And then they open up the back and it's like all of our merch. And they're like, what is this?
Yeah. They're like, dang
no,
it.
They're on the side.
Yeah.
You remember when we lost Trini?
Yes.
In a hotel?
During the transvestite convention.
During the LGBT parade.
Westheimer Street Festival in Houston.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw a girl my age wearing a thong, and I was like, I want to see this for the rest of my life. I was like, wait, girls wear thongs and not Hanes her way full coverage?
That was one of those really interesting moments where you're like, I don't want to play the Christian side stage that's not actually at the event. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was like Westheimer Street Festival, and then a church was like, oh, well, we'll do the Westheimer Street revival.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring in, embodiment and insiders, and like it was a fun show.
Yeah.
But that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I think we're doing this wrong.
Yeah.
And by we, like the church, where I was like, what, like, shouldn't you be at the festival and like maybe host the stage there? Yeah. Or like, you know what I mean? Why are you doing an event not at the festival, near it, close to it? And so in some way it's like, I don't know, I started to think of that, of being just kind of like, it's almost like you're trying to capitalize on this other event that in that scenario, what's that, 20 years ago, 15 years ago? Yeah. Like the relationship between the church and LGBT was extremely strained.
Rough.
And I don't know what all was going on the revival side of that. Yeah. I do remember Embodiment played and they were like freaking amazing. And I was like, I fell in love with them at that show. But it was one of those moments where I was like, like, why don't they do this at the festival?
Yeah, which is on the other side of the bushes.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. So the festival was going on, and then basically this church was within the footprint of the festival, and then they had their own thing on their own private property.
But it always felt like it was like a good attempt. You know what I mean? It was the sound wasn't as good as at the festival, and the staging and the lighting was never as good as it was at the festival, you know. But it would be like, I don't know. I mean, it was still fun for us to go.
Yeah.
But then it would be like, oh, you guys played the Westheimer Street Festival, and you'd be like, well,
Ish.
I mean, we were in the same zip code.
Yeah. We were
near it.
We were in Houston.
Yeah.
At the time. Now you bring up we lost Trini. I don't know if I've ever told Reese this story. But when we lost Trini, so we're playing this festival, and they sent our bus driver, this guy Trini.
Wonderful man.
Yeah, they sent him to the hotel so he could get sleep because he sleeps during the concert and then he drives the bus all night. So he got sent to the hotel. So when we are done, we go to the hotel, and when he got there, they had switched his room. There was an issue with this room, and they switched it. Now, also, this was 20 years ago.
Right.
So the way sexuality and gender and whatnot was looked at a little different. I'll be the first one to say it. Like, back then, we show up at our hotel, and there was like a transgender LBQ.
There was a massive festival.
Yeah, like a huge convention in the ballroom.
Yes, that hotel was hosting it. And we were like 19-year-old Midwesterners.
Yeah. So there's people in drag. There's people in all sorts of stuff. And so we're all freaking out, like thinking like, oh my gosh, this is the epitome. This is
what they told us was going to happen.
Yeah. This is the lobby of hell. And so we didn't know like what was going on. We didn't know what we were doing. And so we were like, let's get out of here. Like, instead of sleeping in the hotel, we were like, let's get out of here. We do not want to be here. Because we were like those, like you said, 19-year-old Christian kids. We were just like, let's get out of here. So we went to the room that like Trini, we thought he had, and we knock, and like some guy opens a door and is like, yeah. You know, in a dress. I picture it being in a sequence dress. And he was like, what do you want? Big Adam's apple. And then we're like, is Trini here? And the guy turns, he's like, what's your name? And somebody's like, Mike? And they're like, nope, there's no Trini here. So we called. Yeah, we did the only thing that we could do. And we had like 3 hotel rooms, and we
broke up by floors.
Yeah, we broke it up by floors. There was like 8 floors on this hotel. We literally did 101.
Yeah. Hey,
102.
Is Trini there?
103. And then we finally get it to where Trini answered his phone. It was like, hello? And we were like, Trini, let's get out of here. And we booked it. And he was terrified.
Yeah,
like he
Trini.
had no clue what was going on.
He was totally... The part of that was scary for him was that he also was in a room that he didn't know. Like, it wasn't the room assigned to him. Yeah. So somebody was trying to get into his room.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yes. It's coming back to me. Yeah.
You know, and he was scared. He thought somebody was trying to break in. He didn't know that there was this Yeah. And so when, Johnny's trying to call him and find him and stuff, and he's like equally as worried. Yeah. Of like, I don't know what's going on. And somebody tried to get into his room and
Now, could you imagine going back in time, like if we were there now? If we were there now, I would have thrown my bag in the room. I would have went down. I would have been in the center of the drag queens, just having a blast, just dancing, having a good time. What are you guys here for? We're a Christian band.
You want us to play?
Yeah, we'll go get our crap. Yeah, and it would be completely different now.
Totally. But I think that's actually part of where I started the conversation. It's like, I think for me, there are relationships that have continued and evolved. I think that there are some relationships that ended, and I wouldn't say they ended badly or poorly. They just ended. Like, Sang and I will chat on Facebook. I haven't seen Sang in,
Yeah, neither.
I don't even know how long. He looks the exact same, though.
I know, hasn't aged a day.
Beautiful skin. I tell him all the time. And he
married a girl named Sung.
Yes.
Sung? Yep. Sang and Sung. Sang and Sung Kim.
And then I think about like, oh man, good thing there wasn't like Facebook back then. Like, going back and some of the interactions that I had with people or whatever, like if there would have been like this public forum like there is now, where everything is like on record, like that would have just been a totally different like experience. And I feel like at some point I had to separate myself from like what I no longer was, if that makes sense. Okay. So like, I was like raised in the Salvation Army, and there's a whole bunch of baggage with that. And then got to a point where it was like doing the insiders, and then I had this really unhealthy, father wound, of which my dad and I have worked through, for many years now. But I had this
that's
massive
shocking
father.
to me.
Oh,
That's shocking to me
massive.
because for me, my pops was never around. Right. And then I would come to your house, and I'd be like, this is perfect. This is the all-American family.
Cleavers.
Yeah, it's the Cleavers. Sure. And so I'd be like you and your dad and Mike, and then like I was almost like this adopted brother that was always with you guys.
Absolutely.
And I loved it. So that's shocking for me to hear right now.
I think it's interesting, like that's part of like the craziness of all of it, because it's like, well, that was your experience of it. My experience of it was this massive gap of intimacy, like a massive gap of approval. And so like I wanted my parents' approval. Like I'm a people pleaser just by my wiring. And so there was this constant need for their approval, and so being in the insiders, we, had their approval, obviously. They loved it. They were huge supporters. But when I think about that next phase of my life, I was trying to like secure the approval. So like, when I left the insiders, when I stepped out of that, it was to like lock down, I'm going to be a Salvation Army officer, which was like, in my mind, locking in this approval from my parents. Okay. And that took me, down a whole nother like road of learning about myself and learning about where I had placed a lot of my trust and where I had placed a lot of my identity. And then I think it took me years to like unpack that, figure that out. All the while, anyone then who was associated with the Salvation Army, I never talked to. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I was going through this whole, like, who am I? What am I about? Like, what? And then it was like any opportunity.
And I'm on the other side, and people are like, what's going on with Nate?
Sure.
What's this dude doing? And I'm like, I don't know. He's doing this. He's doing, and like you said, your identity was in the Salvation Army. And so those Salvation Army people are like, well, Joe knows Nate. Like,
sure.
What's Nate doing? Like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing? Oh my gosh, he left the Army. He's not doing, And then you like, you opened your coffee house in Chicago, which was that affiliated with the Salvation Army?
It was in a Salvation Army building.
But you started spreading your wings there, and like. It was like this building will house the coffee shop, but we're not Salvation Army, and
but I still cared about people's connection to God, and I still cared about like their hearts. The issue that I ended up having was that those people, like the Salvation Army, didn't like them. I always say, basketball players, they can go to the community center, right? Crafters, they have a spot at the community center. The latchkey kids, like the punk rock kids who stand out front and smoke, chain smoke, and want to do, poetry where they're sharing their hearts, or want to do music. Like, they don't have community centers, or at least back then they didn't. And so, like, that's what the Divine Cup was. It was like this extension of like family to these kids. I mean, we had huge shows there. We had Coheed and Cambria there. Like, we had All American Rejects.
Something corporate.
Yeah, something corporate. Like, so like I always cared about that stuff, and I cared about kids connecting to God in a very authentic way. And that was the piece for me that really kind of like had me step away from the Salvation Army because that ended up being like a wound between us, where I was like, if William Booth came back today, I don't know that he would be like, there aren't enough basketball courts, I don't know that would be the thing or workout, let's partner with Joan Kroc and make another.
William Booth
center.
is not the guy who shot Abe Lincoln. He's the guy who founded the Salvation Army.
So like that was a piece of that. But I had to separate myself in order to try to figure out who was I, because did I care about those things because of the environment that I was raised in, or did I care about them because I cared about them?
Yeah.
And music was always that for me. Like the Insiders was always that for me until it got to the spots where we were like, oh, that doesn't seem like that's that, right? Like when we got invited to do that Newsboys tour, remember? And they were like, oh, it's going to be called Under the Big Top, and they're going to set up carnival tents. Remember? Do you remember all the specificity?
Vaguely.
Oh, it was like this
Keep talking.
big thing. Oh, yeah, you guys are going to be on it. Big Tent Revival will be on. You guys will open. You'll have 18 minutes. But you're going to get paid, and then they're like, but you're going to get paid, it was an obscene amount of money. And we would have toured and played 18 minutes. They wanted us to just do a worship set.
Okay.
But it was opening, Big Tent Revival was on it. Newsboys was the headliner. And I remember us being like that became one of those really weird things where we were like, I don't think this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
It would have made sense. We had just won a Dove Award for a worship album. And so, the thing that would make sense is get in front of the most amount of people possible.
But Insiders is Latin. Insiders is Latin for don't do the logical thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we never did the logical thing.
And so, pull back the curtain. Why are we being invited on that tour? Steve Taylor. Steve Taylor was the producer for Newsboys. He wrote most of their music.
See, guys, I have no clue that any of this happens.
So so when I'm presenting to the band, hey, here's the thing that Tim, we need to respond to this. We can either do this, or we can do Full Zandura with
we could do another.
Yeah,
we could do another Squad 5-0 and Chevelle tour.
Everyone's like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I'm in for Squad and Chevelle,
which I think is okay.
Yeah,
because that's what we wanted to do. You know what I mean? The thing that would have made sense if you're trying to build your career, take the 18-minute slot, and then figure out from there. Now you've got these, a more massive following. Yeah. And so I think it is funny. Some of the things that you recall are about the conversations with the band, and then Nate would kind of make a final decision about some things. Mm-hmm. Well, there were many things that Tim would be utterly furious with me about. Yeah. Tim Tabor, who I just learned, was connected to Frank Tate. I never knew that. I never knew Frank Tate managed Prayer Chain. Yeah, I learned that from Reese. Yeah. No idea. Yeah. Which just explains a whole lot of stuff. But there were many of those moments. Tim would be furious with me. Just absolutely furious, and he would be like, you got to get control, and how come you don't have control? I'd be like, Tim, that's not how we function. Yeah, I think I would be made aware of 1 out of every 5 of those times. Mm-hmm. And I do remember that, because there were times where you would vent to me. Again, I think you mainly went to Bo. Bo was your guy to go to, and then Johnny, obviously, because of where Johnny was with money and all that stuff, and how. Well, and Johnny had a job before he was with us. Yeah, and he's wise when it comes to that stuff. Or he was. Yes. And just kidding, Johnny. And so every now and then, if those guys weren't around, and I would happen to be there when you hung up the phone, and you'd be like, Tim's pissed at us that we're not, not doing this or not doing that. See, I would recall that. I would recall that differently. I would go to Johnny about stuff that I didn't think mattered. Okay. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It was these are protocol or operations. Like, Johnny ran the operations.
Yeah.
Johnny didn't have a vision for the band. And I would go to Bo when I would be like, hey, what do you think, what do you think the Lord says about this?
Yeah.
Which, I think if Bo was here, he would probably laugh at that, that like he had that role.
Yeah.
But he did. Like, we were like kind of like, hey, what do you know?
It's funny that he would laugh at it because that's what I saw him as.
Well, I think he would laugh at it that then he had that role at that age with that experience. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I think I would come to you with things that I thought actually mattered. Like, we founded this. Like, this, you know what I mean? Like, this is about the vision of the band. Like, this is about what the Insiders is about, which is different than business, and is different than, like, the spiritual counsel, I guess, that Bo would bring. Or even like, Greg to Sal or whatever, like those are different. Those are like more about like character, but not necessarily like vision. Like we brought Bo into the band,
Yeah.
Like I remember we met him at a wedding.
Yeah.
And we were in trouble. We didn't have a bass player.
You met him at a wedding.
Exactly.
And then like the next day, me and you had to go out to camp.
Yes.
Echo Grove camp to meet him because he was doing zip lining for like 12-year-olds.
Yes. And the thing about Bo was that he wasn't good, but he was willing.
Yeah.
Like he was like, make me a tape of, me a tape of all the stuff that you like.
Yeah. He was like, I was in a band called 12,000 Stadia.
He had never heard, he wasn't listening to anything like that. And
we dust off his bass.
We still laugh about it, where it was like, I think that you kind of make the joke that you were the worst musician in the band. Bo was the worst musician in the band. Bo was a robot. So like before we would leave for tour, Bo and I would have to get together 2 to 3 days before the full band because he would have forgotten every song.
Oh.
And so Bo and I would get together in the living room, and he'd be like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, good. And as soon as he remembered it, it was like locked. But if something got off in a show, if, the horns or drums got off or whatever, like he would
know what to do.
turn and look at me, and it would be like a deer in headlights. And I still get that look. But he would be like, he had no grid for it. It was like, I was supposed to be doing this right now, but now the music has changed.
Yeah.
And it was like autopilot. Like, we would start a song, he would play it all the way to the end and hit the end of that song. And the minute we were done with the tour, he would forget every song.
Yeah. Well, I remember that we would get done with tour and the bass, like we'd go back out on tour and open the back of the truck, and his bass was still where he left it. And you were like, he either got here really early to put his equipment back in the same spot, or, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I always remember you coming to me for like band stuff. I do remember that. But like the Tim Tabor things, like I said, like if you would vent to me about Tim, I only remember maybe a couple of those where you're like, yeah, Tim's pissed that we're like not doing this Newsboys thing. But we would be like, that's not why we're doing this. Yeah.
But I needed the assurance.
Yeah.
Because he was yelling at me and paging me 911.
Yeah. But I do, and Reese and I talk about it,
but I trusted Tim.
And I've said before that we could have been more. We could have made more money. But I can sit back now and I'm proud. People who listen to the show know that depending on what day I wake up, some days I'm proud of the Insiders, some days I'm embarrassed of the Insiders. But I would say the older I get, I have more proud days than embarrassed days. Maybe something comes up like how I handled myself in a certain situation.
Sure.
That if that's what I'm thinking of that day, I get embarrassed. But overall, and the diabolical discussion page or people who have gotten a hold of me over the years have definitely pumped my tires to make me realize like what I did was a good thing and a proud thing. And it is. I know it is.
That's the meta story.
Yeah, exactly. And so I am proud of the Insiders and what we did. And I look back and I think, you know what? as a 44-year-old that the money's been spent. Like there's nothing in my life right now that is going because of the insiders.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this podcast is it, but I mean, like I don't own a home that I bought with insider money. I don't have a car that I bought with insider money. I don't have a nest egg of insider money. I don't have any of that. And so that's all gone. And so I look at it. So what I can look back on is say like, yeah, I didn't do that for the money. You know, my one regret, I think we've talked about it before. The one regret that I have is we didn't do the Olympics. That is one thing.
I don't even remember being offered.
Oh, you
that.
don't remember that? Yeah, the Sydney.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I don't even remember it.
So the Sydney Olympics, we got asked to play it, and they were going to pay for all our flights, and we were able to do like a +1. So if we wanted to bring our wife, you know, whatever, so we could bring a +1. They would cover our flights to the Olympics. We would play 2 Olympic Village shows, and then we would play spot dates all over, like just one and dones all over Australia. But we wouldn't get paid for any of the shows. Everything would go towards the flights. We would get paid on our merch. Okay. So we looked at it and we were like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to take a whole lot of merch. So we're probably not going to make a whole lot of merch.
Right.
And we're also not getting paid for any of the shows. So it's basically we're going to be able to go play the Olympics.
Which is such a small... We could have had merch printed in Australia.
Yeah. And then
save the money. Send them a PDF, you know, or send them a JPEG.
And so we would have gone basically broke even. Well, guys were getting married. I think you were having kids. So I don't remember. We thought we can either do this and break even, or we can do another club tour, like another show tour, and whoever we played with, we could do, you know, this, and this, and we would come out, you know, we'd each have, you know, 10 grand at the end of this, because it was when we were at our peak. And so we decided, no, we're not going to do that. And that was my. Do
you remember what tour we did instead?
I want to say a plank eye tour. Like I want to say like the plank eye tour, but I mean, we could probably look it up because whenever the Sydney Olympics were, like whatever tour we were doing that year, you know, that's what it would have been. But yeah, I always remember thinking like, man, you know, so now as a 44-year-old, again,
you're like, man,
all that money,
so sweet.
Right. So the money, so when we looked at it, we were like, well, we could break even, but we could do this and pay some bills.
Right.
Again, that money's gone.
Right.
You know, those bills were paid or not paid, whatever.
Right. But you could have gone.
But we could have had like the Olympics to be able to, you know, as a 44-year-old or as a 60-year-old telling our grandkids, you know, that we got to play the Olympics. And I've never been to Australia, you know, all of that. That would have been cool to be able to do that. That was my one regret as far as like a show we didn't play or something we turned down. But the turning down like the Newsboys or like an Audio Adrenaline show or, you know, something like that where it was just a money grab.
Yeah, like a one-off or whatever.
I think because the scene that we were in and the influence that we had from other bands, Five Iron, a very big influence, you know, a big influence on me. And like I said, I always kind of did that, what would Less Than Jake do? And so Less Than Jake, you know, $5 t-shirts at a show, you know, like not squeezing for every penny and things like that. So I think when I look back on that, I'm very proud that we were these 19-year-old. I mean, we were 19, like the youngest in the crew, but like we were 19 through like 25-year-olds that didn't give a crap about money. Like we didn't think of our future. We just lived in the now. And the now is we've been called to like bring the light to kids that don't go to church. Like that was our ministry. That was our vision from the beginning. Just like kids that can't come to church, we're going to bring church to them. And that's what we did. We stumbled into a Christian scene. You know, you saw, you were friends with Strong Arm from like Cornerstone.
Yeah. I mean, Cornerstone was connecting spot for all of that.
Way before the Insiders was even going. Like you went to Cornerstone, you met up with Strong Arm, you went to Florida, stayed with those guys, and then they came through town and you were like, hey, Strong Arm's coming through with Zayo, and we went to the Fringe that
And
started.
Tension, I want to say there was a band called Tension.
Was there?
Yeah.
And so then from that show, we saw, like, I remember going, like, one weekend and seeing that, and I feel like the very next weekend was, like, Plank Eye and 7 Day Jesus.
Sounds about right.
And then it was like
Dime Store Prophet.
Yeah, something like that. And then Black Eyed Siva, I think before, what were they after? Was Black Eyed Siva what they were prior to or after? I think prior to they were Black Eyed Siva.
There was also like that Driver 8 band.
Yeah. Something. And like Blender Head. Like
there was so much.
Any show that was going on at the Fringe, we were there. And that was when we had like we were practicing with the Insiders. And then I do not remember what our first show was. I don't know if we opened for someone or if Tony Weatherly was like, "Oh, you're a ska band? How about you headline this night?" Like, I don't know if it was like.
I feel like one of our first shows was with Axel Sid.
At the Fringe?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember Axel
So,
Sid?
guys, Axel Sid was like a funk band from Detroit that's dyslexia backwards.
Yes.
Is Axel Sid.
Yeah, because I feel like it was. But also, I also remember one of our very early shows being at a coffee house in like Warren or on the east side. And I remember all of the windows just being dripping with sweat because we played with Axe Mama at that show.
I remember
that being one of our like.
I remember Axel Sid, Axe Mama, and us.
Because for some reason Axel Sid liked us. That was the thing. And so I don't know if Axel Sid was kind of like one of the early exposures to the Fringe, or if we brought them there. I just remember there being something significant there with that relationship, but. I mean, the Fringe. None of us, none of. When Tony got sick, I would just like jumped on Facebook, and because Angie, Tony's daughter, Tony was the one who ran the Fringe, but Angie had sent me a message and said, "Hey, my dad is sick. We don't know how it's gonna go, but his birthday is like next week, and so could you send something, Could you make a little video?" And so I was like, absolutely. And then I was like, I'm not just going to do that. I'm sending it to everybody. And I went on my Facebook and I just started sending it. I sent it out to 5 Iron, 7 Day Jesus, like all these guys that I knew that were in these bands.
Yeah.
Dear Ephesus, like that had come through and had experienced the Fringe. And it was super cool because a ton of them sent
them?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And sent birthday greetings to Tony. And so then Angie put this, whole thing, and she was, she followed up with me and was like, he was blown away. But obviously nobody knew he was going to pass in maybe, the next month or two to follow that. And so, I don't know, that was something for me that felt full circle, where it was part of my, the business stuff. I didn't end on good terms with Tony.
Yeah.
Mike Rowland and I were the ones that,
Yeah. Had to break the news.
Mike,
you drew the short straws.
Yeah. I had to be there, and I feel like that's a lot of my life, actually.
Yeah.
I have to be there for the really crappy conversations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's my love for people is evident in the space, but then I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with that now, because this arrangement and this relationship that we had is done. And this hurt them. Tim was the right decision for us, for management.
Yeah.
But it came at the cost of saying, oh, Tony, you've been amazing to us and for us, and we're moving on.
Yeah.
And then
I remember
he wept, man. He wept over his hash browns.
Yeah. I remember you telling me, because I wasn't there.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And he didn't ever look at me the same, after that.
Yeah.
We played a lot of shows for him. We would do 5 Iron, Ska Mania and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that there was just a sadness from him that was almost familial. where it was like,
sure. It was.
That's how it
was. Yeah, I mean, it was.
And for somebody who carries a father wound, it was like, I've let him down. I've failed him. Like I've disappointed him. You know, like that father wound followed me, has followed me through all of my life, and has shown up in all sorts of relationships. It doesn't have to be in like the age where it's like, oh, they're older than me, so I have this father wound. It's in everything.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would have Tim being like, you gotta meet with him, and I can't sign this if you're still in that arrangement, you know. And then you're like, oh God, you know, like.
Can I ask you something? So when you discovered that you had this, we'll call it this father wound and this realization that you have it, did you find in your life, because by this time Insiders is over,
right,
when you're finding this out, did you have a pendulum swing the other way? Have you since found this happy medium? Did you have a pendulum swing where you've gone above and beyond in your life? You gave too much of yourself. You went overboard and maybe burnt out or something like that, trying to be like maybe to your kids or to your family or to everyone you meet,
right, that
you go overboard? Like, do you find that in your life?
I definitely found that there was a running theme, and it was almost like, so I actually like had to draw out on, like, diagram it. Where did this father wound like show up in relationships? Because it's not just like to your, you know, birth father or whatever.
You're right.
It's like, no, like it represents something. So then where is that showing up? And so then, like, doing the work of like, oh, it's like showing up all over the place. Like, shows up in my, you know, relationships to friends, or shows up in my workplace or whatever. And so, like, for me, it was having to do the hard work of coming to a place of saying that I battle it every day. So it's not like it's a thing that's done. That I will disappoint people. Like,
oh yeah, people listen to this podcast and just know that's what I do.
Yeah, but like
that's what they've come to.
I've had to come to peace with that. I'm going to disappoint people.
Oh yeah, that's just to me, that's just, I've just known that since I was a kid.
But for me, it was like I believed that my value was based on not disappointing people.
Because,
you know, my worth was based on not disappointing.
Right.
So that leads to a whole lot of unhealthiness.
So I think when I ask my question about the pendulum and have you found that happy medium when you deal with people, because listening to you say this, not giving it more than, we've been going at it for an hour and 3 minutes here, and only giving it that much to think about, I think, like, with you, the thing that was always like the Nate joke was, if I had a party and I'm like, hey, you want to come over to the party? I knew that if I invited Nate was bringing 4 people who I did not know. And so when you're talking about this father thing, like, we would always joke, like, it went so far as to joke to say, like, Nate's commune or Nate's followers or Nate's, you know, that would be the extreme joking.
Entourage.
Yeah. And the lesson, you know, the less harsh would be, you and your entourage. You were always bringing in, if you met someone last week in Rockford, that guy was coming to my party. And I'm like, who is this guy? You know, now mind you, half of them ended up being in the Insiders at some point. So you made some good connections, but with Pedro and stuff like that, and Kent and all them. Man. But like, am I maybe touching on something, or are you like, no, that's not what it is? Because that's how I feel, is like hearing you say that this, I always think like, well, you go over and above to like extend yourself out to new people you meet, or to show that like, I care about you. Yeah. And I care about you enough to, my boy is doing this party, and this could be a great party, and this could be good food, and this could be whatever. And I want you to be a part of that. So
I think that that's probably more along the lines of my being an includer.
Okay.
So, like, I'm always looking to include people, which has,
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, which has you know, it has affected everything that I've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part, like, if you get into it, like, it's why I left the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Because I don't feel that the Salvation Army is inclusive.
Oh, no, I don't think they are either.
And so I can't do that. I can't put my energy towards it.
Yeah.
Like, it's why I'm a pastor at a non-denominational church. It's not connected to a denomination to tell us, this is how you're supposed to think.
Right.
Or, this is how you need to stay in line.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's that piece to the invitation, hey, you should come to Joe's with me. It's a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
Also, I think I've not known what to do with, like, maybe I'll get emotional. Like, I don't know what to do with the gaps of silence in a lot of my relationships, where it's like I had to step out because I was trying to figure out, who am I?
Okay.
Because I've taken this thing on, and if this thing ends, then what's the relationship? Because the relationship was that.
Okay.
Like, whether that was, band camp, whatever. Like, that was the relationship. So now that's done. So I don't know how to interact with that person, because I don't know that they actually like me. I think they might like what I was able to do with that. Yeah. Or contribute to it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, there are some relationships where it was like, oh no, I thought we liked each other. Yeah. Right. And then you're like, you haven't talked to me in 10 years. Yeah. And, like, I could say, oh, that's on me because I haven't talked to them. But I have to come to the spot of, like, but they also have not talked to me. Like, it's not my job to be the one that's always, you know. And, but I played that role for so long that I think people have had a hard time. I don't know how to relate to Nate because he's not the one who's always inviting me to the thing, or, in this world that I'm in, fixing my situations, fixing my homelessness, or fixing my, like, it had to come to a spot where I was like, I'm only going to do what I feel like I have wind in the sails for. Like, even this podcast, like, did I want to do a podcast? No, but did I want to sit with you and talk? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I had wind in the sails of, like, oh, this could be really good for me. This could be really, really healthy. Whereas in the past, I might have been like, oh, I don't want to say no. And those are two totally different things. Sure. Yeah. And I feel like maybe 35 to 37 years of my life was motivated by not saying no. Okay. And because I didn't want to disappoint people. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely. And so then it's like, well, how do I go back, or how do I reset this relationship? And so, like, sometimes in resetting is when the conflict comes up. Okay. Because they've been like, no, you've always been this for me. And then you're like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. Or that's not the role I'm going to play anymore. Okay. And then it's like they can either adjust and you kind of, like, allow the relationship to evolve into something new. Or it's like that relationship existed for a thing, and that thing was accomplished, and now it doesn't anymore. Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's hard. I think that's hard. I think it's hard to deal with. Like, I mean, I was out in L.A., and Tim's like, dude, we got to hang out, and, like, I'm like, absolutely, know? And so, like, Tim shows up to pick me up in a convertible, of course. Of course. And he's got, like, his, gorgeous, like, silver mane. Yeah. He's just gorgeous and timeless and all of that. And, like, I get in the car, and, like, immediately we're like, like, oh no, he comes into the back patio. Like, within minutes, we are having the deepest conversation we have had in probably like 10 years, 12 years. But it was, like, immediate. And it was this really interesting moment where I was like, oh.
We're going to tease that. We're going to tease that, all right?
Oh, is that a Patreon tease?
Yeah, that's a Patreon tease. We're going to bring it to an end. And I didn't mean to do that to you. Like, I want to hear the story, but I want to have something that leads us into the next. So, you guys, freebies, we're going to end it here. We're going to say goodbye to you.
Thank you, freebies. I love you.
Absolutely. And so, you guys, if you haven't thought about it and you maybe want to do it, you can hear the rest of this. Again, we have different tiers if you want to do it. TEARS. We have all sorts of tiers on this podcast. This is therapy for all of us.
First one that's cried.
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
I cry every other one. Reese balls all the time. This is total therapy. We just this is all it is. It's therapy for what we've gone through. And so you guys, if you can't do it, and if the lowest tier is $5, that gives you the 4 extra hours a month, and it gives you all the back stuff. So pay $5 a month, get all the back stuff, and then if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. We ain't hating. So you guys, that's the rest of it. So Patreon people, keep listening. We're gonna keep going. All right, bye.
For more shows like this one, visit rockcandyrecordings.com.